Hi there, I'm Skaji, a practicing witch and a professional tarot nerd. I'm glad you're here. So our vocabulary word this week is significator. A significator is a card which signifies, that is, indicates the focus of a reading. Now, a search of the interwebs will provide you with not only several differing definitions, but also several different uses. The most common thing you'll find is that the significator is a card chosen at the beginning of a reading. I think this use comes down to us initially from Arthur Edward Waite's The Pictorial Key to the Tarot, first published in 1911. This is not a first edition. Now, Waite was the designer of what, in my opinion, is the most influential tarot deck, even if it's not the most commonly used these days. Waite says about the significator, the diviner first selects a card to represent the person or matter about which the inquiry is made. This card is called the significator. He goes on to tell us which cards we should choose to represent our seeker based on physical characteristics like hair color, unless these allocations are subject, however, to the following reserve, which will prevent them from being taken too conventionally. You can be guided on occasion by the known temperament of a person. And a little bit later, he goes on to say, if it is more convenient for the purpose of a divination to take as the significator the matter about which the inquiry is to be made, that trump or small card should be selected which has a meaning corresponding to the matter. I don't disagree with the apparent definition provided by Waite. However, even from the very beginning of my tarot studies, I never really understood the point of completely removing a card from the shuffle. It seems to me that all that really accomplishes is to reduce the total possible number of interpretations available to us in the spread. After all, if the significator is predetermined, there's no point in using it. We could just imagine it if we needed to. Most often, when I do use a significator, it's drawn after the shuffle and typically represents the seeker in the moment and provides insight into current feelings or attitudes. Now, some spreads I use do call for choosing a significator, but it isn't pulled from the deck when I do this. Rather, it's used as a focus for other cards. For example, if the reading pertains to feelings of being blocked, and we want advice on how to become unblocked, well, then I'd shuffle the deck and I'd look for the devil in there. And then once I find the devil, I look at the cards around it, before it and behind it, and those are the ones that go into the spread. That kind of has that significator centered up in the spread. All that being said, if you choose to use a significator in a traditional manner, the way I use it, some other way, not at all, it's really a matter of personal choice. The proper method to use is the one which provides the best results for your readings. This week's card is the Five of Cups and was suggested to me by my dear friend Magna. Thanks, Magna. When we're looking at the minor arcana cards, there's a few bits to consider. And those would be the suit, the number, and of course the imagery, and not necessarily in that order. So, on to the Five of Cups. The traditional association with cups is the classical element of water. Now, I see water as our emotional world, the world of feeling and intuition and spirituality. Martial artist, author, actor, and philosopher Bruce Lee said this thing I absolutely love. Be water, my friend. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless like water. You put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Now, the elements are concepts related to neutral energies. They're neither good nor bad. In our day-to-day lives, we might consider water to be soft. We slide into a bath. We enjoy the sound of a cleansing rain. Soft, relaxy kinds of things. Ever performed a glorious belly flop at the pool? Water didn't seem so soft then, did it? Ever seen a video of a tidal wave coming ashore? That water seemed anything but relaxing, right? When we're noting the elemental influences in a reading, we have to consider not only the positive side of the elements, but how that energy might have negative correspondences as well. The number symbolism of the minor arcana as presented in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck are from the Kabbalah, as interpreted by the Order of the Golden Dawn. Since a majority of decks today follow that outline from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, this association follows through even if the deck doesn't incorporate the Kabbalah more overtly. The number 5 is associated with Gevurah, the 5th Sephirot of the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. Gevurah is associated with strength, as well as with conflict and struggle. Here in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, we see a character hanging their head, seeming to focus on these 3 overturned cups. Either they don't see the 2 cups behind them, or they aren't concerned with them. Maybe they just forgot they still have upright cups left. I sometimes refer to the 5 of Cups as the spilled milk card, as in don't cry over spilled milk, because it sometimes has that feeling of worrying about things that we can't change. In the Robin Wood Tarot, we have a card which is almost identical to the Rider-Waite-Smith, but off in the background, way back there, behind that character, is a dolmen. Dolmen are passage tombs, and this has the implied interpretation of grief or loss. And this is where comparing cards from different decks can come in handy. When we take note of subtle differences, it can bring in nuance to the imagery. You see the cups. They have colored stripes on them in the Robin Wood deck, which have traditional associations with the 5-element system used in some magical traditions. In the Rider-Waite-Smith, the spilled liquids are different colors. In the Robin Wood, the character seems to be much farther away from home, the castle on the mountain in the background. Now, when I'm particularly down, I can feel isolated and far from home too. The Urban Tarot is a Toth-style deck by Robin Scott, and this card is called Disappointment. Now, I know I'd be disappointed if my china cabinet got trashed. I mean, what's the story here? Did thieves trash all this looking for valuables? Did the owner trash it out of a rage born of disappointment at a loss? And if you look closely at the top, you might notice that instead of 3 overturned cups like in the Rider-Waite-Smith or Robin Wood cards, we have 2 broken cups with 3 apparently intact ones. Now, what does this imply to you? And how can that inform your interpretation of the cards, even using other decks? This is from Llewellyn's Witch's Tarot by Ellen Cannon Reed from 1994. In this image, we depart from the traditional look. And it looks like this cat in the picture is trying to clean out a creek which has stopped flowing. This feels like emotional constipation to me, like those times where we're just emotionally numb. And why is he all glowy? Can this imply he's a spiritual being, maybe? Or maybe he represents our own spiritual nature. The Cosmic Tarot by Norbert Losche was published in Germany in 1988. In this card, we're back to that feeling of grief, only a little bit more overtly. It seems this woman is dressed in funeral attire. It's a windy day outside, and in this deck, all the cups are overturned. Here in the 5 of Cups, we have the interplay of water and struggle. And there'll be days when our greatest struggles are with feelings of loss. We can fight against these feelings by ignoring them or distracting ourselves, or we can be present with them and accept what they represent. We can process them. Sometimes the only way around is through. This card was a great suggestion. Thanks again, Magna. I hope you've enjoyed your time here today. If so, Please like, subscribe, share. Thanks again. I'm Skaji. Safe journeys. The Pictorial Key to the Tarot. Do I have a copy of that? Pictorial Key to the Tarot, first published in 1911. Waite was the designer of what, in my opinion, it's Now he goes on to tell us which cards we should choose to represent the seeker based on physical characteristics. He goes on to tell us which cards we should choose to represent the seeker based on characteristics like hell color. Arthur Edward